you're watching Leader Speakeasy with me, Luqman Haris. Unfortunately, Rozina couldn't be with us today, but I am joined by someone very prominent. And we're going to talk about leading to refresh Malaysian politics. Here's an introduction of our guest today. Nurul Izzah's political career began with the creation of Parti Keadilan Rakyat in 1999, following the infamous arrest of her father. The then 19-year-old Izzah played a vital role in the party's establishment, where she continued to rise through the ranks up until its momentous victory in the 2018 general election. After a surprise stepping down and hiatus from party politics for 4 years, Izzah was reappointed as the party's vice president in July of this year. But there's so much more to her than just politics. Ever the active parliamentarian, Izzah is a founding member of the TPPA and Women's Caucus and has been a member of various select committees discussing many of the nation's pertinent issues. She's worked closely with numerous agencies and institutes on advocacy work, including ABIM, Swaram, and the Women Leaders International Forum, to name a few. With the increasing calls for younger leaders, what does the future hold for this Permatang Pauh MP, and how does she lead to refresh Malaysian politics? YB Nurul Izzah, welcome to Leader Speakeasy.
Thank you. Thank you, Luqman.
Let's kick off by discussing your leadership mantra. Besides your father's earlier struggles, which were quite obvious, were there any other factors that motivated you to join politics back then? Were there other figures or role models who inspired you to do so?
Well, thank you, Luqman. I mean, I think one of the key items that drives me is the sense of mission. So you look at leaders, you can certainly learn from many figures, whether in politics or elsewhere. But the point of the matter is, it's bigger than who you are. So you're not really doing it for personal glory. But I studied to become an engineer. I literally, I think, the sense of injustice kind of fueled that desire to fight back and fulfill your responsibility as part, as part and parcel of the nation building, shall we say. Was it always a case of you always knowing in the back of your mind that you would join politics to fight for what you believe in? And did it take what happened in 98, 99 to sort of jolt you and nudge you in the right direction? Did you need that to join politics? Or in other words, would you have been where you are today had that not happened, 30 years ago? So rhetorically speaking, I mean, you can always entertain these different permutations in life. But I think when I was in a literary and debating society of Asunta, as Asuntarian girls, you're always discussing national issues. So you're always having strong opinions about how pivotal it is to voice them, to improve the state of the nation. But yes, I would say the political and financial crisis of 1998 really moved me and many others, from the Reformasi generation, to do our part, because we felt really small. Well, how can you change the future of the country, right? Because you're just one person, a helpless person at that. It felt that way. But I think, yes, 98 and the sense of fighting for justice, not just for my father, but for the plight of many other Malaysians facing the onslaught and oppression from the current government. Was it hard to get out of your father's shadow in the beginning? Did you feel a burden to prove that I am my own person, I'm not just my father's representative? I think it's good to have a close circle who's very supportive, loves you, yet at the same time very critical, critically constructive, very open with you, keeping you real, as we say it. So I always start with, in my speech in Lembah Pantai, when I first contested, you're going to vote for my name on the ballot paper. So I'm going to do my best to perform my responsibility, but I can only be answerable in terms of my capacity as Member of Parliament and, of course, fulfilling a clear-cut this sense of moral compass, right? But and you tell me, because at the end of the day, that's how I've been doing my best to lead it. I can't choose my DNA, can't choose my parents, but I certainly can decide and design my future. Fast forward about 20 plus years. Oh my God, has it been that long?
You don't look like you've been in politics that long, and that was a compliment, by the way. What do you think? What do you think when you look at our politics today? It has always been turbulent then. It's turbulent now, but in a very different way. When you look at politics today, what do you think when you look at both the government side and the opposition side?
Well, you know, I think we've hit new lows, but not just Malaysia. You know, across the world. That's why this week you find the Malaysian Parliament discussing the anti-hopping and perhaps, inshallah, approving the anti-hopping bill. And this is important because then it puts us in a position where you see all this turbulence around the world. What's happening, you know, in terms of the Russian aggression in Ukraine and the war. And of course, it reminds you of the need to have and to fight and to be a part as stakeholders to sort of arrest the future from those in power, especially the ruling clique who think that they can do whatever it is that they want. And I see it more for Malaysia, from the Malaysian perspective. At the least, people have seen that they have the power to change the government. You know, albeit it was temporary, but the power is still there. It happened. You changed a 6-decade-old federal government and you can do it again. You can unseat anybody. And right now, you are punishing lawmakers who betray the respect, betray the trust of the electorate. So, yes, there are many setbacks if you can see it from the top view. However, I feel there's a sense of awareness. Many issues are being debated. The anti-sexual harassment bill has been approved. So these are important milestones to be, we should appreciate, but also should remind the younger voters, especially the eligible 18-year-olds, to come out and cast the vote.
And you talk about the general election, GE14. Now, not long after GE14, in fact, in the same year, if I'm not mistaken, you took a back seat from active party politics. You continued to this day, of course, your duties as an MP, but you took a back seat from party politics. You have shied away at that time. Some say shunned active participation in party politics up until very recently where you were reappointed. What drove this decision in 2018?
You know, it's very, very important for me that I took some time to listen and to engage with the rakyat, with the community. Campaigning takes a lot of your focus. And I was so interested after years, you know, we were fighting in the opposition. I mean, to lead governments, to have that opportunity to implement policies was very instrumental. It was very special for me. So when I had that time, I actually managed to implement the multidimensional poverty index study, learn the plight of the bottom 40 households, understand intergenerational poverty, get evidence to understand and to lead us in moving forward, as well as reorient priority on food, food security, even reforms in prisons. Why? Because you want to rehabilitate parts of problematic society. So I don't know, I feel that it was such a valuable time for me, and it helps me instruct on my list of priorities today. Because you can't just, play with people's lives. You have to have evidence, you have to have policy that works to lead you forward.
And it's data-driven and research-driven.
It has to be.
That's all well and good. I think most of us are aware of what you've been up to during that time.
Thank you.
Yes, I remember the anti-poverty initiatives and things like that. But since I got you
EPU
here...
has been implemented it. I'm quite happy. There's 10 more pilots from Permatang Pauh's findings.
Congratulations for that. But since I got you here, not easy to get. You're quite a busy woman. Now with Parliament sitting again, going to give you the platform now just to clarify. That period where you actually almost temporarily retired from party politics for 4 years up until recently, not due to any disagreements within PH at that time. I'm going to give you a chance to clarify now.
I mean, I've said my piece. At the end of the day, of course, everybody has their own strong views. I'm a very vocal person, but I also equally respect a sense of shared and collective responsibility. So for me, it's very important to balance both. I just like to be prepared for worst case scenario. Doesn't mean I'm not part of it. I'm willing to work and do the work, and I care very much about this mission. But we must also understand we all are in this together, and we have to be realistic. We shouldn't treat the electorate as just people who will fulfill the numbers that we need. They're part of this equation. We're partners in this movement to save Malaysia. So that's what I will say. And I think we need to learn lessons. We need to do things differently, because everybody feels very strongly against politicians. They feel let down. They feel disappointed. And that's something that everyone, not just the government, but the opposition also has to address. And that's what we're doing. So for me, it's been really important to take stock of these lessons. And I'm very proud because my colleagues in Pakatan Harapan are taking stock and are taking the necessary action. But of course, we have much more to do.
After 4 years?
My God, it's not 4 years.
It was 4 years.
God, I was still
2018, December
in campaign
2018.
Everything. All right.
More or less 4 years. After all this time,
Yeah.
what drove you to return? What's different now than in 2018?
I don't know if you've heard Dr. Gabor Mate. He is a psychologist. And, I've been really following what's happening in terms of policy making in this country and a lot of the erroneous decisions made by the federal government. And he says sometimes we put so much trust in the people who, that's in power, but they themselves mostly empty, because they need that power, that position to fulfill the emptiness, that is in their souls. And I realize if I don't do something to affect the outcome, if I don't do my part, then I can't expect change to take place. And even if change doesn't take place in the short term, at least I know I'm going to do my best. So a lot of the realizations, looking at my children, looking at the multidimensional crisis that we are facing. Chicken industry, Malaysia is so successful in this particular industry. But flawed policy making, decision making really does no favors.
Do you think?
Yeah, in my own small part, it's time to.
Do you think your comeback into party politics? You've always been there in terms of an MP. That's undeniable,
Sure.
and other things as well.
Thank
In
you.
Parliament, you're very active. Let's get that clear. But your comeback into party politics, which is also quite important. Do you think the party and PH in general needs that to woo voters in the upcoming election? That you are an asset. Seeing you active boost their stocks, especially among the younger voters?
Well, you give me too much credit. Really, you do. I think, firstly, nobody is indispensable. I think we all need to have a healthy dose of humility. So in my small part, of course, I like to do whatever I can to assist. But I don't know. The verdict's out there. Actually, the power is returned to the people, to the voters that are eligible to vote. And we need them to believe in themselves. I mean, Luqman, I was barely 18 when I first campaigned. I was scared. And I was a scared young teenager, right? Not knowing where my father was. He was a detainee. So I feel that what I can do is to share that experience and tell everyone, you have agency. You can do something. Just because there are certain setbacks in life, it doesn't mean that we give up. So perhaps that's the message I would like to bring. That I had experienced heartbreak. I had experienced disappointment. I couldn't get what I wanted. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to give up. It means that I have learned from those challenges and I want to do better. And I'd like to ask Malaysian voters to come with me in this journey.
All right, we'll take a short break. It is Speakeasy. We'll be right back with YB Nurul Izzah, the MP of Permatang Pauh. Don't go anywhere. You're back with Leader Speakeasy with me, Luqman Haris, in conversation with the Permatang Pauh MP, Nurul Izzah Anwar. We talked about many initiatives that you are currently championing and PH is currently championing. I think one of the main things that you're focused on now is wooing voters, especially the younger ones, the newer ones, first-time voters for the upcoming general election. But it's no secret that there's this deepening distrust towards politicians. How do you think we can remedy that, this deepening distrust towards politicians, especially among the younger ones?
You know, it's a question everyone's grappling with. Through the Ayuh Malaysia initiative, it's again our humble initiative, our humble effort to try to cajole the younger ones by focusing on 5 key mission statements. And, you know, one of which predates the current crisis. We've always wanting Malaysia to have food sovereignty and food security, right? Looking at how do you reward our food producers, our farmers who remained in the B40 category, but more importantly, to ensure that it is sustainable and it utilizes the latest technology. And number 2 was, of course, the issue of younger generation, education. But again, the devil is in the way we hit the hearts, right? Strike the hearts, engage and have traction with the younger ones, with people who were not interested in politics and those who have shied away from voting in the last few elections.
Yeah, because a lot of these people are saying that we voted to make big change in 2018, but PH couldn't get their act together, and changes happened within the system, resulting in what happened for the next 3 or 4 years.
Again, it's 20 months, and I'm not making excuses, but I see this as a long-term progression, and it's important for the lessons. No matter, it was very bitter. But it's important because it showcases how we can do things and manage the expectations, including, you know, what are the key top 5 things you can implement in the first year, you know, vis-a-vis second and third. So it has to be partly incremental, but partly revolutionary. But again, thinking back to how it factors in with the evidence that you have, effective policies, and listening to the stakeholders, businesses, SMEs, students. And I think perhaps we can do more on that account. I am also worried about the deficit, because that deficit of more than 10% means you're giving it on a platter to the incumbent.
Yeah.
That's not good, because the incumbent can't rule very well.
The issues are, of course, central to sentiment and whichever way the next general election is going to be heading. It's also the products that you sell, the ideas, the people. At the end of the day, is that, you know, some, admittedly, are more pessimistic than others. They don't think you can expect that the older, or maybe mostly current generation of politicians, I'm talking about the older ones,
Boomers,
you can say that, to make boomers or more, or older, to make sudden and monumental changes to the system. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, they say. They think that the next generation, such as yourself, have to rise to the next level for this to happen. What do you think of this? What do you make of this?
Honestly, I think everybody has to rise to the next level, because we're facing challenges that we never faced before.
Yeah, I'm saying that the younger politicians need to be given bigger voice and power. Or else, it's not that there will not be improvements, but there will be incremental improvements, not fast enough. We need totally fresh new ideas.
You know, I'm reminded of what happened when the Lib Dems and the Conservatives came together in the UK, and hardly any welfare-based progressive policies were introduced, most of which really harmed the middle class in the UK. So, yes, we do need younger blood. However, the caveat is there's also that readiness to embrace proper, progressive, you know, policies that will help reduce the income gap, that will protect the vulnerable and the marginalized. And you cannot assume that this will be carried by the younger people. So that's why it's important to have, keep pushing the agenda, celebrate the younger people, and push back against the older generation who are very set in their ways. So for me, a 3-pronged approach is crucial, because you can't assume without the agenda, without the mission, that things will be pushed successfully. Not many people want to listen to evidence, Luqman, and that's my concern.
Exactly. Sentiments and emotions usually sometimes dominate.
Absolutely, yeah.
And emotions as well. A lot of PH supporters are traumatized because they made what they say. They made
Trauma
what they think It's a huge thing. And these were people who voted for the other side for the longest time, took a leap of faith to vote for PH. And now it's traumatized because they're saying that it's back to square one because of what happened to PH internally. How long do you think you need or PH needs to actually reverse this trauma?
It's anyone's guess. We hope it's already reversed, right? We already come to a position where it's very important because so many things are at stake. If we don't address the trauma and people don't come out to vote, for sure things will worsen. And on the other part, we also want to address the bit that you talk about policies. I think before, when you talk about detailing out, after not having the opportunity to take over government, that 20 months have been very instructive to showcase an understanding how crucial institutional memory is, how crucial moving and working with civil servants, and also moving with the electorate so that communication is done in unison. So squabbling internally, I agree, is an issue. But at the end of the day, you also have to redress that by having an equity-based partnership amongst the parties. And that's why we start small. I always believe in making sure you get your house in order, you sort out the key differences, you understand only top 3 to 5 things that can be done effectively, and then from there you branch out. So this kind of humble, appreciating and embracing a humility approach is better because voters don't want to hear, you talking down to them. They actually want to hear you make a sincere attempt at making things better.
All right. Many more questions I would like to ask you. Unfortunately, time envies us, so I have to move on now to the next, thankfully, session called the Quick Fire Questions. Now, with this, you only have 20 seconds to answer each question.
Okay.
In this segment, our viewers get
I agree to this.
You can look at me. You get the rare chance, our viewers get the rare chance to get to know you up close and personal, away from all the politics. Ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay, first question.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
What do you listen to when you're stressed out? What's your jam?
Radiohead.
Radiohead?
Yeah,
Old school.
usually. Sorry, old school. Led Zeppelin is not so bad as well. I know I sound very old, but it's really, really,
No, I like Led Zeppelin and Radiohead as well.
Yeah.
What are you watching now?
Right now?
Yep.
Parliamentary debates. I'm sorry, I had no time to watch a movie.
Seriously, when was the last time you watched a movie and what was the movie or series?
I managed to watch Dune. At least not so bad, right?
No spoilers, I haven't watched it.
Oh, it's really good.
I'm even older than you.
Okay.
The craziest thing you've done in your youth?
Bungee jumping.
That's the craziest thing.
I'm a good girl.
Without naming names.
Okay.
What's the craziest thing a fellow politician has ever said to you?
I cannot say this out loud.
Without naming names.
I cannot say this out loud. I cannot.
Okay, the clean version.
Chatham House rules.
It's okay if we don't divulge identities.
Cannot.
Cannot.
Politicians say the darnest things. That's all I'll tell you.
I'll get you next time. What's the one thing that nobody previously knew about you?
Really? I mean, I think, I'm open secret.
Really?
To know.
Your eyes don't say so.
Give me an example. What do you mean? Like what do you think you don't know about me?
I don't know, you tell me.
Okay.
It need not be something that's naughty or controversial. It could be something.
Yeah, exactly. So,
example, I don't know. I play the ukulele. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
For example.
Okay.
But naughty and controversial is preferred, though.
I was learning how to play the drums, and that was kind of nice.
So you can play the drums, Radiohead jam?
No, not to that level. I'm not as good as my son, but it helps release the stress.
What's next for Nurul Izzah in 5 words?
In 5 words? What the heck is this? Nurul Izzah would like to add value.
Let me help you. You can say the best is yet to come. Is that a good one?
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good
one.
one.
Well, no, inshallah, let's do this together.
All right, big thank you, YB. I am.
The best is yet to come.
I am remiss that we only have half an hour for this show. We'll be sure to get you for our future shows. Talk about many issues.
Good luck with that, inshallah.
To come. One more final question. What's your biggest ambition in politics?
Actually, I want to leave a very important legacy that everyone else can empower themselves. That's my legacy, that people feel they can empower themselves in whatever capacity.
Okay. Big thank you to Nurul Izzah Anwar, the MP of Permatang Pauh, for an insightful conversation on what the future may look like for Malaysian politics. Be sure to join us on Leaders Speakeasy with Luqman and Rozina for conversations on leadership as the country and the world strive to bounce back from the pandemic. I'm Luqman Haris. Thanks for watching.